The following content is sponsored and does not necessarily reflect the views of WATD Radio. Now, Paul Ponders on 95.9 WATD. Be a part of the show. Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's your host, Paul Solano.
Greetings, everyone. I want to thank you for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. Happy baseball season. Excuse the scratchy voice, but I've been enduring cough and a cold the past few days and trying to nurse it back to better condition. But my name is Paul Solano of PS&L Marketing Group, and as you probably already know, I also wear another hat as general manager of Pearl Street Station Restaurant in Malden. Pearl Street Station was recently featured on America's Best Restaurants, an independent marketing firm from Kentucky. And one huge reason for this huge honor is because of Chef Felipe Fitzpatrick and his culinary team. So shout out to Chef Felipe. I know he's a loyal listener through the Odyssey app. So hello to Chef Felipe. I know you're busy with lots of events going on today and tomorrow at Pearl Street Station Restaurant. So keep up the great work. You and Chef Joaquin and Chef Marco just do a tremendous job. And also for late-breaking news, Pearl Street Station Restaurant will be playing host to a tribute to George Foreman on Tuesday at 6 o'clock, 6 to 9 p.m. So please bring your George Foreman grill, and we will grill some hamburgers and watch some George Foreman championship fights. That's at Pearl Street Station Restaurant, 53 Summer Street in Malden, Tuesday from 6 to 9. And as I have continually stated over the past 16 shows, and I cannot believe that this is show number 17, it is an absolute honor and pleasure to be at WATD in the slot of The Boiling Point with Arthur Boyle. Now, Arthur is actually on the line, so maybe we'll bring Arthur in. Arthur, how are you today?
I'm well, Paul. Thank you for asking. It's been a long couple of weeks, as you know, and it's nice to be feeling tip-top. So
you're feeling better?
Feeling better. And life is getting back to normal.
That's great. That's great. I spent some time with you and Helen and Brother David last week, and it was a great visit, and you really are looking great. So thanks for being part of Paul Ponders' show today. And as everyone knows, you're the executive consultant of Paul Ponders on WATD. And of course, absolutely. And of course, all this is possible because of the man behind the glass, Tim behind the glass. Tim, how are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing well, Paul. How are you? Good morning, Arthur.
Good morning, Tim.
Yes.
Good afternoon, I guess.
Yeah, it is afternoon. Oh boy, there I go.
I love it. I love it.
And I thought it was me.
No, I had a senior moment. It's okay.
All good in the hood, as they say. And intern Paul from Massasoit Community College is behind the glass, too. He's really loving this internship. How are you, Paul?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking, Paul.
You're welcome. Your studies are going well? Your internship is going great?
It is. They're my top priorities, and I'm glad to be taking a part.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, keep up the great work.
Hey, good luck, Paul. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And even further back there is Tom Gorman. Hi, Tom. How are you? Great job delivering the news. Tom is waving. But really, it's great being part of the WATD family. And it's really just an incredible experience. And Arthur, I cannot believe that this is show number 17. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I can believe it. You've done a great job. And you brought some nonprofits some recognition, and you've really done a good thing for the community. So, and I'm not surprised, by the way, at the Pearl Street Restaurant being one of the top 3 restaurants in its class in the United States, because if you go up there, you can have almost chicken any way you want it, which is a favorite of mine, and it's a great place for dinner. So if you're up in that area, stop in and right on Summer Street.
Right, over at the old railroad station, and before it became Pearl Street Station Restaurant, it was the Summerside Lodge.
Yes, I remember that as a young Kiwanian guest where you got a book award. And that was a big deal then.
Absolutely. No, it has a lot of history. It really does. The building was built in 1890, an old railroad station, and then converted into a function facility, and then eventually Pearl Street Station restaurant.
Wow.
Awesome.
That is a great history.
Well, Arthur,
You figure the building's been there 135 years.
seriously, it's the oldest fireplace in Malden, I believe, built in 1891. For a restaurant, anyways. The oldest fireplace for a restaurant. So, Arthur, you and I were chatting about what a delightful guest and what a delightful segment we have with the Pod Pro Entertainment Techie Toolbox segment with, as you know, Techie Talonzo Amos and Shelley Wolf, global media firm, owner of Toolbox Entertainment, and a past Paul Ponders guest. And would you believe that Shelley is on the line? So maybe we'll pick up the call on Shelley, and we'll welcome Shelley.
All right.
How you guys doing today?
Shelley, how are you?
Good, good.
Awesome. Now you're a traveling lady, and where are you today?
Today I have found myself actually in Malden.
Malden.
Mm-hmm.
Malden, Mass?
Malden, Mass.
Well, maybe we'll be seeing you at Pearl Street Station restaurant later on.
You never know.
Absolutely. Indeed. And you know Arthur, and you've spoken to Arthur in the past.
Yes. How you doing, Arthur? It's nice to have you on the show again today.
That's awesome.
Well, I put my radio voice on to do Paul's show, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
awesome.
it's good to have you on here today. So.
Awesome. Well, Shelley, we really look forward to your very helpful hints, and also, what do you have for us today for some techie tips?
Yeah, well, before I give my techie tip today, I also just want to give a shout out to you and also for promoting the Voices of Hope. Yesterday we went and saw Jesus Christ Superstar, and it was absolutely amazing.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's great. Ed Siegel and Greg Chastain were recent guests of the podcast that I just dropped earlier this week with Pod Pro Entertainment. And it sounded like it would be a great show, but it really was?
It really was. It really was. I highly recommend it.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, thanks for those kind words, and that nice shout out for Voices of Hope appearing at the North Shore Music Theater. I believe they have a performance tonight and maybe tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. Highly recommended, and it's in the round, so you can see no matter what seat you get. So get your tickets now.
That's fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for those kind words. So what do you have for us today?
So today we're going to talk about protecting your digital identity, photos, faces, and your fingerprints. So, like so many times these days we are sharing our photos. It's easy as tapping a button. But here we have you ever stop to wonder about what your image, where it's going to end up? From your selfie to a security, our faces and even our fingerprints are becoming a key part of our digital lives. So today we're talking about how to share images smartly, protect your digital footprint, and especially when it comes to our facial recognition and footprint logins on our phone, or our fingerprint logins on our phone. So we often think our faces and fingerprints are just personal identifiers, but in the reality in the digital world, they are considered data. So when you upload a photo or use a fingerprint to unlock your phone, you're actually participating in a system that's called biometric technology. So while this tech is convenient, it also raises some serious questions that we have around privacy and security and control. So the question is, who has that access? So when you post a photo on social media, it's rarely seen by your friends, but sometimes it is. Some platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and those cloud storage services often also scan your images for facial recognition, and they may store what is called metadata of the time, date, location, but most importantly, they are really saving that image of you. So a tip is to make sure that you are checking your privacy settings and turning off location and when you're tagging in your camera. Also avoid posting pictures that show your home address or license plate or children's school. I think it's also important to remember, I like to think about this, even though this is a digital, is that I know a lot of people will put like stickers on their car, like, hey, I'm a soccer mom, I've got 5 kids, 2 cats, and a dog. Sometimes they put kids' names. You got to be careful because you're letting people know too much information about you. So just something else to think about. But facial recognition continues to grow. Companies and even the government use AI to scan public photos for faces. So that means when photos you share today are always going to be used, no matter what you might intend them for. So consider using photo sharing devices or services like Google Photos or Dropbox to share amongst for public and social media instead. So share those within your personal group versus putting on social media. If you're uncomfortable, you can also disable facial recognition features in many platforms, but that does not mean that they do not have that information. So are biometrics safe? Well, logins like fingerprints or facial ID are generally more than secure than a PIN or a password on your device, as long as you keep it up to date and encrypted. But remember, unlike a password, you can't change your face or fingerprint, right? So it's important to remember that you have a strong secondary PIN number or passcode that goes along with that biometric login. You also want to make sure that that biometric login on your device, you can trust it and never set it up in a shared public phone space. And where is that bio data stored on your phone? Well, good news is Apple and most modern Android devices store your fingerprint and facial data locally on the device and not in the cloud, which means it's not floating around the internet, but it is on your phone. So if it's lost, you're still at risk. Keep your device safe, your software up to date, and make sure that if your phone is stolen, you have it remotely locked, and that way you can wipe it. So make sure that your Find My iPhone or Google's Find My Device is turned on. And then understanding that your digital footprint isn't just about what you post. It's about all of your data is being used, stored, and shared with others. So once again, sometimes online it's harder to take back. So think about where your face and fingerprint and just like a signature. Think of it as when you leave it on a public wall, it's going to be there forever. It is your digital signature online. So turn on those location or turn off your location when taking photos. Review and adjust privacy settings and social media in your cloud app. Use private sharing links for sensitive images. Use a passcode or two-factor authentication code alongside your biometrics, and keep your devices updated and encrypted. So again, technology makes our lives easier, but it also requires us to be more mindful. Before you post your next photo or scan your fingerprint to log in, ask yourself, am I protecting my digital identity? A little awareness goes a long way in staying safe and in control. So for more tips and resources, you can always reach out to info@podproentertainment.com, and we are happy to support you and answer any questions you may have.
That is fabulous. So helpful in those tips, and we'll eventually be getting those out on the PSNL Marketing Group blog and Paul Ponder's blog. But Shelley, I want to thank you again for really just very helpful techie tips.
Yeah. Hoping everybody stays smart, stays secure, and remember that you own your image, so don't turn it away.
#Indeed.
#Imagine.
You got it. Shelley, until we meet again, you have a great rest of the day, okay?
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you so much. Bye now.
Bye.
Well, as Arthur's on the other line, as Arthur always says, it's not time to make the donuts, it's time to pay some bills. So let's hear from our sponsors. Attention WATD listeners, don't leave any money on the table. Call Performance Appraisal LLC and appraiser Arthur Boyle and Associates. Arthur may be reached at 781-293-6900 or Boyle6900 at AOL.com. Since 1994, Performance has developed many niche services ranging from appraising single-family homes to providing expert witness testimony. Again, call our own Arthur Boyle at 781-293-6900. South Street Diner, located at 178 Nealon Street, Boston, is Boston's only all-night dining destination, open 7 nights a week for late-night eats. Yep, that's 24/7 in my book. Owner Saul Seidel has grown this former iconic Blue Diner to be the place to go for keeping the party going or filling your stomachs before you head home to the South Shore or the Cape and the Islands and listen to WATD along the way home. Ask Saul about his grandmother's banana bread recipe, the Boston cream pancakes, umpteen eggs Benny offerings, and tell him that Paul Ponders sent you.
Have you heard about Pembroke Collision? Price and quality don't often collide under the same roof. Not so at Pembroke Collision at 192 Manakesett Street in Pembroke. Pembroke Collision will work with you and your insurance company to get you back on the road in a safe and satisfactory vehicle. Put your trust in Ben Bastianelli and his crew at Pembroke Collision. Just call 781-293-4040 or find them on Facebook. Pembroke Collision. Happy to work for you. Have you tried Bryantville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
We are back, and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. The call-in number is 781-837-4900, and you could also find us on the Odyssey app, just like my daughter Ann in California. Hi, Annie. How you doing today? And I want to give Arthur had mentioned in the previous segment about doing a lot of work with nonprofits, and you could reach me at paul@paulponders.com. And basically, just let me know if you want to be on the show, if you want to have a shout-out on the show. Please let me know. I'm all about the nonprofits from past work that I've done as Director of Institutional Advancement at a couple of institutions. And it's really great to work with nonprofits. And one of the nonprofits that I work with is the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame. And we had that wine tasting event the other night, Monday night, up at Pearl Street Station Restaurant in Malden, and worked out really well. And we net a fair amount of money to put forth for at least one education award to be awarded in June sometime. And we also had President Dave Caiazzo, who made just a tremendous speech. This is pre him getting inducted into the National Semi-Professional Baseball Hall of Fame in October in New York. But we did a little something for Dave and just gave him some recognition. So a lot of his friends were in the audience. And it's really just great with the career that he had in the semi-professional league, the Inner City Baseball League. And I believe that he was on 8 championship teams in 10 years. And it's really unheard of. I think that's pretty much a record. And also, we're going to bring Arthur back on the line to chat. Arthur, you still there with us?
We're still with you.
Awesome. Am I coming in loud and clear despite the cold and the cough?
Yeah, you're coming across very well.
Well, that's
good. Dave Piazza, he was one of the guys that I idolized as a kid. He was about 6 or 7 years older than I am. And I used to watch him play at Image Park on the Fellsway. And he hit some really long-distance baseballs.
Yeah, Dave's just an incredible athlete, and he was in the first Hall of Fame class at Malden High School. And this Hall of Fame that he's going into, the National Semi-Professional Baseball Hall of Fame, is going to be his 5th Hall of Fame selection. So that's pretty cool. I don't know too many people.
How good he was.
Yeah, seriously, and also too, I do want to mention from last week's show, we had actors Eddie Serino and Christine Mohn on the show promoting A Nightmare with Casey Sherman, which was held at the Wilbur Theater the other night. I believe it was Wednesday night. All the days just run together. But Eddie, unfortunately, had a hospital stay this week, and he just wasn't able to make the performance, but he got a nice shout-out at the end. And Christine Mohn absolutely nailed it in her role regarding her act was about the Boston Strangler. And it was really great production, so a shout-out to Casey Sherman. and to Master of Ceremonies J.T. Thompson. I had the pleasure of chatting with Steve Sweeney after the show. Steve had a role in the first act, and we had a nice chat. Steve is doing some work at the Fox and Hound in Quincy, and he's appeared a couple of times at Pearl Street Station Restaurant, so we hope to get him back at Pearl Street. And also I had the pleasure of sitting in the same box area with Brian Hurley. Shout out to Brian. It was great chatting with you, and hopefully we'll have you on in the future. David, Brian is a local actor and has a small business in medicine, biomedicine, and forgetting off the top of my head, he showed me that contact card, which is pretty cool. You put it on your phone. But anyway, so Brian is an actor, and we had a nice chat. We have a few mutual friends, as luck would have it. And then in a totally random meeting, I met David Callanan, who has South Shore roots, and his wife Barbara. Met them in the parking garage. We took the elevator together. He gave me his card, and I said, "Are you related to Dana Callanan?" And he says, "Yeah, he's my cousin." So here I am in the parking garage in Boston, and we're talking about Dana from Pembroke, and it was pretty cool. And he actually knows you, Arthur. So what a small world department.
Yeah, it's amazing. It shouldn't be too amazing when you're involved, simply because the saying that Paul will be at Logan Airport when the Pope comes in, and they're going to say, "Who's the guy in the red hat with Paul?"
That's funny. Thank you for that. But actually, my former sister-in-law was actually it was kind of funny. She was the audiologist for the archdiocese, and she actually took care of the Pope's executive assistant. This was years ago, and it was pretty cool for her to meet. And she arranged an audience with the Pope for my late in-laws. And it was really, really something. So when I always think about the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, and I always play this with Hank Morse as well, and with your brother David, it's 6 degrees of separation, indeed.
Yeah, I understand that David and Hank Morse were in the same place at the same time this past week.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. David did a fine job. He's such a wine guru. So shout out to David for doing a great job. And before we go into a commercial break, I just wanted to just let our listeners know that they could go to paulponders.com to find subscription links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as finding past Paul Ponders and WATD shows. As I mentioned earlier, we dropped a great episode with the Voices of Hope on Monday night, and it's getting a lot of views, and it's really just a great organization. And as Shelley was saying, it's a great production. And I had a couple of other friends who went to the show on Thursday night, and they had an absolute fabulous time. So really, I do invite you to check out Voices of Hope Boston, check out their organization, and just hear some wonderful songs and a great tribute as they help to raise some money to beat cancer. So with that, Arthur, what do? We go into the commercial break and take care of our sponsors, right?
We ask that people, if you hear it on WATD, mention it to the merchant that you heard about them on WATD, because it's a great way to get your name around, and it's a great way to spread goodwill in the community. So do the best thing you can, and spread the wealth around.
Well said, my friend. Now let's hear from our sponsors. Attention WATD listeners, don't leave any money on the table. Call Performance Appraisal LLC and appraiser Arthur Boyle and Associates. Arthur may be reached at 781-293-6900 or Boyle6900 at AOL.com. Since 1994, Performance has developed many niche services ranging from appraising single-family homes to providing expert witness testimony. Again, call our own Arthur Boyle at 781-293-6900 293-6900.
Have you tried Brianville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Briantville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Briantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Briantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857. Have you heard about Pembroke Collision? Price and quality don't often collide under the same roof. Not so at Pembroke Collision at 192 Maniquisett Street in Pembroke. Pembroke Collision will work with you and your insurance company to get you back on the road in a safe and satisfactory vehicle. Put your trust in Ben Bastianelli and his crew at Pembroke Collision. Just call 781-293-4040 or find them on Facebook. Pembroke Collision, happy to work for you.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
We are back. Thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. Again, the call-in number is 781-837-4900. And with us on the line is Arthur Boyle. Arthur, how you doing?
Good, thanks. And I want to put in a plug, if I can, for Pembroke Collision and Ben Bastianelli, because he did a great job on my car several months ago, and I haven't got around to thanking him yet because he's busy going to his place. And it's a good sign when there's activity going on in the body shop. So he did a nice job, and I appreciate it.
That's great. And a shout-out to Ben again for being one of our sponsors, as well as Ken from Brianville Pizza Kitchen. And all in, Arthur, you'll appreciate my next comment. I'm feeling a little bit better. I had Nurse Shayla from Pearl Street make me a hot toddy or two yesterday, and I have Chef Felipe who makes an absolutely incredible, as we call it, sopa de pollo. Okay, so that's the chicken soup, and we like to know it as Jewish penicillin. And my mom made a great chicken soup, and I know you always comment on my mom's chicken soup, but her escarole soup. So I'm going to have some when I get back to Malden, and just hope that it just really just cures my illness.
Well, your mother's cooking will cure your illness. She was just fantastic.
She really was. She really did a great job, and for not being Italian or Sicilian, she really made a great gravy, not sauce, but gravy, with the burjol and the meatballs and the sausages, and I really miss that. But Chef Felipe does a great job, and he fixes me up with his sopa de pollo. So I'll have some. Chef Felipe, if you're still listening on the Odyssey app, I will have some. And I see on the line we have someone calling in from New Jersey. Is that Bob Hilberg on the line?
Caucus, New Jersey.
New Jersey. You're a Jersey boy.
Yeah, what exit do you live on? No.
I don't know. What exit? Bob, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome. So Gotham Whale, our nonprofit, is down here just at the Beneath the Sea Divers and Ocean Symposium Conference. It is spectacular. We're meeting people from all over the world. This is an amazing place.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. So this is the Beneath the Sea Expo, Dive, Travel, and Oceans Exposition that we've mentioned on past Paul Ponders shows, right?
Exactly right, yep.
Now, who else is down there with you in New Jersey from Gotham Whale?
So PJ is actually giving our visionary director of Gotham Whale and a member of the board of directors, he's giving a presentation as we speak about the seal in the bathtub and the whole story of how he got inspired through his dad being a curator at the New England Aquarium in Boston to take his dad's legacy to another level. And that's what we're doing down here is just bringing more awareness of what Gotham Whale does. We got Scott Albertson of Project 142 who promotes us up and down the East Coast with his podcast, and certainly we appreciate Paul Ponder's support of the Paul Ponders podcast to elevate the awareness of whales in our oceans and what we're doing to protect them.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. So this is right in the Meadowlands. This is in where? Their Expo Center?
The Expo Center, yeah. The actual MetLife Stadium is about 2 miles away. So we were kind of driving all around, That's where they played football, and this is a huge metropolis of all different kind of events, but we're in the exhibition center. There's about 200 booths, and we got 45 different workshops that are going on today and tomorrow.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. Well, I hope you have a great trip and great rest of the trip, and I hope that Paul C. Swerter, I hope that his presentation goes well. You said he's right in the middle of it right now?
He is, yeah. He goes from 12:30 to about 1:15. I'm going to pop in, and then Scott Appleton's going to close his meeting with a nice song or two.
Well, that's great. Yeah, Scott does a great job singing. I know that he's performed in New York City at a couple of nightclubs, and Scott's an incredible guy with his Project 142 dedication around the nation, and he really does promote Gotham Whale and Paul Ponders and PS&L Marketing Group and Pearl Street Station Restaurant. So he's a marketing guru. So, Bob, I thank you for calling in. I know you probably have a busy schedule the rest of the day.
Well, I want to make sure that Millie gets some of her chicken soup into your stomach. So we're going to set you up with getting you healthy as well. And I just want to get a shout out to Bryanville Pizza. My grandfather was born in Bryanville way back in the early 1900s. Oh, wow. So Bryanville is a special part in my life of where my ancestry came from. So just a quick couple shout outs to them.
I never realized that. So that's great. We'll have to talk about that at a future meeting about your family coming from Bryanville. It's a beautiful part of Pembroke.
Absolutely. Thurston Stetson. Stetson hat, Stetson shoe, that whole came from my grandfather, and that generations go back to the 1620s when they came over about a month after the Mayflower and settled in Norwell and all that area, Pembroke, Situate, that type of thing. So a lot of history in the Stetson family, and that's pretty cool stuff.
That is. That really is cool. And for our listeners who have not been introduced to Bob Hilberg, Bob is the executive director of Gotham Whale, but you also wear a few other hats. If you want to give a shout out to your business and your past days as an author for the New England Patriots.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly the Patriots are looking to have a better season, but I've written a couple books. Some of the stats that I put together on all the players is in the third floor of the Patriots Hall of Fame all-time roster. So meeting all those players and coaches of the 13 years that I worked in the press room and as a photographer for the NFL during Patriots home games, I found a lot of people that were going through obstacles and adversity in their life, how they overcome them, how they became great. And that's what Gotham Whale is all about, is always be Gotham, always be great, always be grateful, and just do the best you can and have that kind of attitude of you're here to serve others and you're here to help other people elevate their greatness as well. So all of that is kind of morphed into my life coaching business and certainly what I do for Gotham Whale.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Bob, I thank you for calling in from the Meadowlands in New Jersey, and I look forward to seeing Millie and you and having some of that sopa de pollo, the Jewish penicillin.
All right, all the best, you guys. Great show.
Thanks so much,
Thanks for giving
Bob.
us a little shout out. We'll see you in another week or so.
You got it. Be well now. Safe travels, my friend.
Right.
Thank you.
Hashtag indeed.
Hashtag indeed. Thank you, Bob. So, Arthur, were you able to hear Bob's segment? Bob's a great guy. I don't know if you've ever met him.
Yes, and he's absolutely right about Bryanville. And to talk about Stetson as well, Stetson over Whitman. There's a lot of great history here. Mayflower Grove was as you know, where I live in Little Sandy in Bryantville, across the pond from us was an amusement park that closed in the 30s. And it's nice to hear from people who, grew up here or, have relatives that, if it comes to grandma's house to go to the beach. And, it's just a bit of nostalgia. And it's fun to hear what people have to say.
Nice. It really is a beautiful part, a beautiful area, and it has a few zip codes. So I see on the line we have a call from. I listen to WATD during the course of the week when I'm within range, and even up in the Malden area, and I always hear about Matt from Pembroke calling in. I've been in touch with Matt. I've met Matt, so it looks like Matt from Pembroke is on the line. Matt, how are you?
Paul, geez, I hope you're feeling better.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things that we'll just keep the hot toddies and the chicken soup, Jewish penicillin going, and we'll get better. And vitamin C. I can't go wrong in life.
I've had you on the radio, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like Paul.
Well, we're making it through. We have about 6 minutes to go, and but who's counting? Who's counting? We're okay. The show must go on, as they say. But anyways, how are you? And how's Mona? Everyone good?
We're all good. Very very excited about Right Wheel Day this year on April 24th.
That's great. Yeah, if you want to tell us a little bit about the April 24th and all the great things you've done in the past to make this day come to fruition. Well,
I had a crazy idea, and it took some work. I worked with Josh Cutler. And it took a few years, but we made it happen. And Charlie Baker signed the bill on his last day in office. And it's very exciting. We still pinch ourselves, but the first 2 years there was a big celebration at the New England Aquarium, which just got mentioned by Paul. And this year we're actually having it at the New Bedford Whaling Museum.
Okay.
So on April 24th at 10 p.m., it looks like it's going to be a great event. They haven't sent out the press release yet, but it's coming soon, and I'll send it to you, Paul.
Please do. I'll try to clear my schedule if I could get out of work over at Pearl Street Station and make the trek down, and I'll also let my colleagues, friends from Gotham Whale know about that.
Yeah, I'm sure WAT is going to, once I get all the, I'm going to send it to Hackler and Rob Hackler. Sorry about that. Mr. Rob Hackler and Mr. Robert Carl Hackler.
Absolutely, Rob, as a program director, he does a great job, and it was so nice meeting you at the WATD Christmas party a few months ago, and I can't believe it's a few months ago now, but it seems like yesterday, but it's really great. Yeah. And I really thank you for the texts you send me and all the heads up on anything you see regarding the whales, both in New York and the Atlantic coast.
Whale time.
Thank you so much. So I thank you, and we'll have you back on in April to promote April 24th with Massachusetts Right Whale Day even more. Okay, my friend?
Hey, great to hear.
Thank you. Thanks for the call in. I really appreciate it. Thank you, and make it a great rest of the day.
You too.
Thanks, Matt. Hi to Mona for me. And Arthur, how are you?
Yeah, I lost you there for a minute, my friend.
Oh, there we go. It happens. But have you met Matt from Pembroke? Matt Delaney?
Yes, I have.
Absolutely. Great guy. And so dedicated to the mission and what he did for the right whales.
He was on a mission.
Absolutely.
He was on a mission to get that done.
Absolutely. And I do want to get this in before we start to wind down. We usually have the financial wing of Olympic Proportion with Olympian and former Boston Bruins winger Dave Jensen, senior loan officer for Riverworks Credit Union. We usually have Dave on, but unfortunately, Dave was babysitting his son's 4-month-old puppy, went to a dog park, and the puppy got into a skirmish, Donnybrook, as they say in hockey. And it's one of those things that Dave is now at the vet, and he sent me a picture. And it's like I hope the puppy is going to be okay. But wow, what a beating the puppy took. So the shout out to Dave. But Dave sends his regards, and hopefully Dave Jensen will be back on next week. So Arthur, do you have any closing thoughts before we start to wrap it up and bring in Ron Dwyer?
Yeah, it's actually interesting that the president hasn't done anything bizarre today, so there's nothing to write home about in that regard. So I just wish everybody on the South Shore a happy spring. It's right around the corner, and we'll be back with you. I'm back on the 19th, I think. Right,
you'll be filling in for me because I'll be doing that fundraiser with the Boston Bruins alumni and the Boston All-Stars over at the Eruzione Center over at Larson Rink in Winthrop. More details will follow on that. We'll start to, in fact, start promoting that accordingly. And also, Arthur, I want to thank you for calling in. It would be great seeing your smiley face again across the table. But we'll catch up with you soon, okay, my friend?
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. You have a great rest of the day and happy spring indeed, okay? Thank you, Arthur. So I want you to stay tuned to WATD for the Memories with Ron Dwyer, the grand poobah of oldies rock and roll. Ron, you are a true leader of the pack with great musical memories of yesteryear. So thank you, Ron. Listeners can go to paulponders.com to find subscription links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as finding past Paul Ponders on WATD shows. Thanks again to Tim, Arthur, and our advertisers. But really, thank you, listeners in WATD world and beyond. Keep Paul pondering. #Indeed.